Yay! Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, my friend, Armando Compean, as he would say.
How you, darling?
Hello, Armando. And
oh, they're back. They're back.
I know. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Armando is, if you don't know him, he's really a fantastic bass player, singer. Obviously, he has a band, and it's a great band. I've seen it many times over the years, and yeah. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks a lot for being here. Hey, Roland Eskerins. I'll tell you who's coming on, and Pamela Baker says hi. And
it's Roland's birthday too.
Oh,
in case you didn't know.
Did I write that down? I don't think I wrote that down, Roland. Happy birthday, Roland. This is a big one, right? I think. Do you know, Armando?
At this point, I don't know. I know that at this point they're all big. Yeah.
Now, I will say that I think, is Inge doing the dishes in the background? Because I hear the dishes.
Yeah. Inge? Yeah. We do hear the dishes in the background. Okay. You can't do that. Right. I was wondering what that was.
I guess the microphone's picking up. So, anyway, getting out of the way. She doesn't. I mean, she could be part of it too if we want. You know. Hi, Inge.
She said hi. She can't hear you. I got the earphones on.
So, Armando. I mean, I feel like out of all the people I've talked to and know, I probably know a lot about your growing up because. I don't know, maybe because we've known each other for so long and sat around and talked a lot. I don't know. But anyway, a lot of people here don't know. And so maybe you could start by just telling us how you grew up. I think it's a great story. And it makes me jealous because even though my dad was a sax player, he didn't have parties at the house, you know, with musicians.
Yeah.
So, you know, but anyway, let's start there.
Well,
I was a little boy when I was born.
When I was 4 months old. No. It's going to take a long time to start at 4 months. Well, actually, not to go that far back, I'm going to take one little
story.
Blip, from that, because in reality, the beginning, as you know, we've spent so many hours talking about our backgrounds and all that. You know that I come from a musical family, but when I was, as a matter of fact, in the crib, so to speak, before I could talk, I remember we had a 2-story house, and I remember hearing my family playing and rehearsing in the studio downstairs. And before I could talk, I remember hearing the vibration of the drums and the bass and all of that, and saying, "Holy mackerel, what is that?" You know?
Wow.
I want in on that. You know, and that's before language was even a part of the deal. Huh. So I would say that's probably the first exhilarating experience of feeling the vibration of music. And then, of course, as I've told you, as history went, I got to hear my brothers jamming and playing, and my dad practicing violin every day all my life. And as I told you, like at Christmas parties and New Year's, we would celebrate Christmas, and the musicians would come over and play until 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, you know, just like you read about in the old jazz books, you know. Yeah. And it wasn't always, it was jazz, and also my sisters would sing boleros. You know, they had a lot of boleros going on, which to me is the Mexican jazz. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of great tunes in that genre. Yeah. And so anyway, just endless experiences hearing music all my life, at all different sides, going to my brother's gigs, my dad's gigs, and seeing them playing.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
No, you can't. No.
How many siblings did you have, and were they all musicians?
125.
Wow.
No.
Wow, your mom, man. Shit.
She was tired. They weren't watching cable. No.
That's for sure.
Right. No, I had 5 brothers and 4 sisters.
Wow. Yeah.
And
I knew it was a lot. That's a lot of people in the house, man.
Yes, it was. It was a micro insane asylum, and also very joyous at the same time. My dad managed to teach everybody music somehow. Even my sisters that did not become professionals all played violin or something. They all sang. 4 of my brothers were professionals, and 2 of them taught college, and the music departments, and then my brother next to me, he could play, but he was not a musician. But he could play. He still played the accordion and violin and the bass and the piano. That's just what happened at home. That was our football, and our playing pitch outside was learning instruments.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of us.
That's cool, and I'm sure that's unique. I mean, you just don't hear about that a lot. You don't hear about a family like that. That's really cool. So, are they still around? Do they still play?
Unfortunately, they're all gone. They're all gone. I'm the only one left of the brothers. There's 2 sisters left. Yeah, and so a lot of them. I mean, they didn't die young, but they died sooner than they should have. I would think. And my dad beat them all. He lived to be 85, and he was still practicing every day.
And your mom passed early, right?
She passed when I was 8 years old. Yeah. So I didn't really know her that well.
And your dad did all of that himself. That's
he stayed steady. He stayed cool. He stayed steady.
Yeah.
And that was obviously that image sticks in your head of that steadiness.
Yeah.
And keeping on, so to speak.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So. By the way, Mark Van Aken is here. Hello, darling. So you grew up, music was just kind of...
I didn't say that I grew up.
Well, that's true.
We know that, right?
That's true.
Let's not go too far.
I shouldn't actually say that.
Right. So you aged. Right?
Your body grew older.
Your body grew up, right?
And so I'm trying to imagine if there was a seamless awareness for you into more the music that you would play after that, funk and rock and jazz. So was it seamless, or was there a moment or several moments maybe?
Well, because I was raised in that environment and hearing so much kind of music, obviously I wanted to do everything all the time. I wanted to learn all the instruments, and I wanted to play everything. So I started out like a lot of kids did, even though I was hearing different kinds of music, in a regular guitar band, with drums and, I went through that era, and then slowly started learning bigger chords. I was playing guitar back then before I switched to bass, and was very fortunate during that time that my dad let me do this. That I formed bands. I had bands with horn sections, and I would teach them arrangements I was playing piano, taking piano lessons. I would teach them parts by ear, and all for 4 horns and 3 horns.
Yeah.
And so I had several variations of that band, and we were playing R&B, and I was copying the local black bands. Always started with a set of quasi jazz, boogaloo jazz, Horace Silver, stuff like that. And we would learn tunes like that, and to open the set, we tried to copy them, And as a result, I was really lucky to play in all those clubs all during my teens. I was playing in all the hood, whereas my dad thought I was doing gigs at Catholic schools because I would lie to him. And, I'm going to play.
Why would you lie?
Because he didn't want me to play in bars where there was alcohol.
Oh, okay.
So, it wasn't because they were in black neighborhoods, just because of the alcohol. Even when I played in bars, anywhere, I had to tell them I was playing at a teen hall or a church. If I had played in a fraction of the amount of churches that I told him I played, I would be canonized a saint by now.
Do you think he knew?
I don't think so. And I had a sister that was an ally that would let me spend the night at her house. I'd tell them I was playing close to her place, and I'd spend the night with her so I could sneak in late and all that, because I was always late, And no, I don't think he knew. I mean,
you guys never talked about it in later years.
No. I mean, he was very stoic about a lot of things. I mean, he didn't start expressing to me that how much he dug what I was doing until way, way later. I mean, he was liking it.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
When I had my first cocktail trio jazz gig, he would come every day, but he'd never say, "Hey, you sound great." He would just sit there and eat crab balls and enjoy it, and then leave. But so that evolvement, going through that period for me just marked the whole groove thing, and I'm a shuffle maniac. I love shuffles and all that. Yeah. And it was just a great. I don't know if it was seamless, because I was taking piano lessons, and though I didn't want to do it, I'm really glad my dad made me. I had 10 years of classical piano, and then I started to learn harmony from my brother-in-law, who was a fantastic piano player as well, and arranger. He's who I moved here with. Oh. And so that when I got turned on to 2-5-1s, is like the whole world changed. And I think it was about 19 and a half, 20, I switched to bass and never looked back. I mean, I still play guitar, as you know, a little bit.
But not really piano, right?
I play piano. I mean, I write with the piano, and when I do my tracks here, I do the piano parts. I do, I still practice piano and all that, especially during this isolated time. We had so much time to
to improve ourselves.
Yes.
That's really cool. Yeah, interesting. So, Armando and I have done a lot of gigs together. Lots of gigs over the years. We've known each other probably since the late 70s or early 80s or something.
Yes, and we had a lot of rides to work and rides back, cackling and on the gig cackling as well.
You know what I really remember?
What?
Well, I remember several like things I will never forget. But one thing, talking about riding, we had that gig at the Ritz. That Nazi gig at the Ritz.
Oh no, that was after the Casuals. Yeah, that steady gig. Yeah, that was.
But in that car, you turned me on to Take 6.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. You said, "Listen to this."
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was beautiful. Yeah, that gig was just. We won't say his name, but the piano player was just.
I don't even remember the piano player. I just remember you and me.
I do. And Jim Varley.
Oh, see, I didn't even remember. I just remember you and me, and it was, the maitre d' was a Nazi.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't think it was you. I think he fired somebody for wearing brown socks.
No, it's nobody we knew. I don't think. Yeah. On our gig, I don't remember that. Yeah.
And then he also wouldn't let us talk to the customers. Remember
we had to leave the room. Exactly. Yeah. And but I just remember it was rough because it was mainly, in reality, vocal, drums, and bass, and there was another vocalist a male vocalist on there as well, and the piano player, who was classically trained, did not have an iota. I mean, he was. As I used
You'll have
to call
to tell
him.
me later who that was.
I won't. Let's put it this way. I called him Tony Triad. So but anyway, that was much later. Now, we had those gigs in the 70s and early 80s with the two horn player guys, or they had a little book that they did, and you had to sing pop tunes and all that.
I think you were on that gig, the Gay Bar in Long Beach, right?
Oh, with Art Rodriguez.
Right. Band, we called the band the R Band or something. Armando Art Rodriguez.
Right. Garmando. Right?
Oh yeah.
And that he secretly has signed my name in to be on their mailing list. I didn't know it for years, so
Right,
I was always getting stationery and invitations to things, for this gay bar. And I finally realized who did it. Anyway, Art was a great drummer. Yeah,
Yeah. Let's see. I wanted to talk about your relationship with, and now I forget her name, so I'm going to go look at what I wrote about you. Because there was, she was a star. She was either, let's see.
J.P. Morgan.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan. Thank you. That was exactly who I had in mind. I wanted to ask you about that because I always found that somewhat interesting. I didn't know the whole story, but now I hope I'll know a little bit more.
Well, at the time that I met her, she was having, she was a big star in the 50s and 60s, and then
she was an actress, right?
Well, no, she was a singer. You should check her out. She's a great singer.
Yeah.
And really hip. All her family were all great musicians. As a matter of fact, I inherited her brother Duke's bass. He was a great jazz bass player. And that's what got me back on the upright. I was just getting back on the upright during the time that he passed, and I was looking for a bass, and she said, well, you've been playing this when you come over. So, but when I got called to do the gig, I got called by a drummer. I don't know if you ever knew Tom Albering. He used to play with Leroy Vinegar.
No, I don't think so.
Anyway, he was like a trio guy, and he called me. And at the time, the only reason I knew about her, I remember my brother used to have an album with the family years ago when I was a kid, and I heard it. But she was having kind of a big resurgence because she was doing a lot of the talk shows, and she really had great banter with Johnny Carson, and it became a thing, this ballsy woman wisecracking, and she'd sing a song, and she'd go in that, they would kibitz, and it was kind of a big deal. So at the time I got back with her was a great time because she was having this resurgence. The gigs were quality gigs, and she was doing all the talk show. They did the Tonight Show about a half dozen times. Remember Mike Douglas and Merv Griffin's show at Dinah Shore. It was like every other week I was doing one of these gigs and go on the road. It's funny because when the gig started, I was being picked up in a limo. By the end of it, I was catching a cab to the airport because but about 15 years later, the gigs kind of started to change as the management changed. But
it's funny.
Yeah. But anyway, but one thing consistent is that she always had great rhythm sections. I don't know if you ever knew Peter Donald, a drummer.
Yeah.
He was the drummer, and she'd carry us with him, and I became the MD, and I would rehearse the band. And they always loved us because the rhythm section was always doing it. It was great.
Yeah.
And she was great. She just sang with so much great rhythm and treated musicians wonderfully because she knew how they were. She was raising a family of musicians. But so we've remained friends for almost, talk about knowing somebody for 50-something years. I was with her for years, and we still remain friends. And we have shared a lot of music, and needless to say, many, many thousands of laughs because she's also I love to make her laugh because she's a cackler. She likes to laugh, And, so now she's living with her nephew in Washington State. She's like upper 80s now, And, and so I call her once every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks. We're still pals, And so
cool. Those those days were so dramatically different, and I mean, the shows were different. The involvement was different. The audiences, their expectations were different.
Mm-hmm.
It was just it was quite a different moment in history.
Right? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't hear about stuff like that. I'm sure there's somewhere there's still going on like that. But I just remember it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun to go out there and make the things swing. And she was a catalyst. I learned a lot from watching her do the same songs over and over again, and watching how she would make them happen, and her rapport with people. And I learned between her and the vocal teacher I had. I really, really did open me up to communicating, with people.
I remember when I worked with I had this event that I co-created at the bakery Herb.
Ellis.
No, that was on my mind. Herb Jeffries.
Oh, Herb Jeffries, yeah, a singer.
And Obama. Oba Babe. My mouth isn't working today. Oba Baba Tunde, the actor and the singer. He was part of the show, and he and I did a song together, and I just remember the feeling. It was like, it wasn't a feeling that I was accustomed to. It was almost like working with my idea of Sammy Davis Jr., this super talented, multi facile entertainer who was totally professional, could handle anything that came up. Mm-hmm. And the feeling of working with somebody like that was so great. And I'm imagining that's how it could have been with her and some of the other people that you've worked with over the years.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I worked with her the longest, and other people, as many musicians that live here. When you live in LA, you usually have a collection of people you played with on the road. I mean, there's a lot. I played with Paul Williams. I only did a few gigs with him. I didn't really know him that well. And Peter Allen. I don't know if you remember who that is. He was
Peter Allen.
He wrote "I Honestly Love You" and "Don't Cry Out Loud." He was a great songwriter. He did the song Arthur. Yeah. He was one of the co-writers of that. And he did the cabaret scene and all that. And it was another fun, bizarre gig. That was a lot of fun. And always good rhythm sections. Again, we went to Australia for 3 weeks. It was, I mean, I've played with these obscure people, but they were really fun gigs. I mean, they weren't names that roll off the tip of your tongue,
Right.
Yeah. So you play with Joe Schmo, huh? Right. But like I say, Jay was the longest because I did that for so many years, and I played with some rock acts. I don't know if you've heard of, the group Little Feat.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, the lead songwriter and singer of that was a fellow named Lowell George. I don't know
Yeah. He was. They were big in Boston.
Slide guitar. Yeah, they were in Boston. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, he left them and he did a solo act, and I was at a party. And this friend of mine's wife said that her husband was looking for me to go audition. I thought she said Lil George, Little George. I mean, I didn't even know who he was anyway, because I was more kind of a jazzy, bluesy guy, And I knew who Little Feat was, but I wasn't.
Yeah. So
I went and auditioned, and he was doing promoting a solo album. And I got the gig. It's starting to rain. How nice.
It's been pouring in my neighborhood, but now it's sunny because it went over to you.
Yeah. So I got the gig. We rehearsed for 2 months. We did a concert here, and I didn't realize how famous he was. I mean, that's just how ignorant. When we went on the road, everywhere we went, it was a humongous thing, and not to mention the debauchery was in full mode. And ironically, like many things that happened, it was one of those things that might have been like that break in show business, and so we finally did the coolest. We did the Bottom Line in New York. We did all the hit places. Then we played in Washington, D.C. I shouldn't be laughing because he passed away after that. But we were going to record a live album in Atlanta. They had Wally Heider was going to meet us there and come back and do the Roxy when the Roxy was going on and all that. And it would have been one of those things, you could use for stepping stones,
Yeah.
Anyway, ironically, he passed away after that best concert. Yeah. And so, like I said, it's one of those, you're sad, but you're thinking, but that was also another great one because he was one of those people that was kind of a quirky songwriter. Even though he was a rock guy, he was very jazzy. His chord changes. He wrote a lot of time signature things and stuff that was, it was interesting to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Little Feat. And that was a delicious mode of music and period of time. That was, in Boston when I was in college, Boston had a lot of different reflections of the music, that was happening, but Little Feat and that kind of stuff, Bonnie Raitt, and that was
That was
very
the same.
strong.
That was the same clique. They were the same clique. Bonnie Raitt was around a lot during those times at our rehearsals and stuff. Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
She learned a lot from her slide playing. She played slide guitar.
Oh yeah.
From Lowell. Lowell was a master of that, and she plays just like him. She sounds like him.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Ooh, just gives me chills to remember it.
Very
so
sensuous.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very sensuous. And what could be better when you're 19 than sensuousness?
Right. That's right. Except that when you're in your 70s, you can still be sensuous.
That's true, and then you can enjoy it in a whole different way.
Right, slower. Right.
Yeah, it's it's funny about that shit. It's funny that like when you get stimulated, it's the same exact stimulation as like 40 years ago, in your mind.
Yeah.
In your
Right. Yeah.
But it's the same exact thing. It's like, and that's why I think so many people have gotten into trouble over the years. Like, oh, he got on Facebook and he found his new lover, and then he divorced his wife, or something like that, because it's the same feeling. And of course, we like that feeling.
Right. Well, the disappointment is when you think when you feel like that, and then you realize you can't back it up. You got to be sure before you start leaving wives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But and I, with talking about all this different history we had, which I found, I think you sent it to me a couple of years ago. I'd forgotten about it, that we did this cool duet together. I don't know if you have a copy of it or not, but it is a really cool. I think was it your tune or?
Oh yeah. I wonder if I can play it. Let me see if I could find it. Yeah, that was.
I remember we did it in somebody's house or some studio, somebody's house or something, and it was on an album.
Yes, it was. That was my first album, and it says it's on. Oh yeah, this is the wrong picture on my album, but it's a picture of a different album. Yeah, this was my first record, and it actually turned out amazingly well. And there were some really beautiful arrangements, especially written by Rick Helzer, a piano player who I had on a few months ago, and he used to live here, and he's kind of like a Keith Jarrett type of player. Really incredible, still incredible, then incredible. He wrote some great arrangements. And although I'm not sure he wrote this arrangement, maybe this was Bill Lorre or something. Let's see if you can hear
I remember Bill
this.
Lorre. I love Bill Lorre, yeah.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Here we are, the two of us in love. Whoever would have thought this love could be?
Here we are, surprised as we might be. Through all the funny games we played and never knew we won.
Here we are,
anticipating, but nothing lasts forever.
Baby, take a chance, don't be afraid.
Don't you be afraid.
Today we may find love, but nothing is forever. Won't you stay?
Don't be afraid.
Take a chance on love.
I set you free.
Just you and me.
In love together from the very start. In love.
I think this was Jim Cowger on sax, I think.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And it might have been Jim Lacefield on bass.
I really.
Or actually, if it was Bill Lorre, it was probably Octavio Bailey on bass.
Here we are, the two of us in love. Whoever would have thought this love could be?
Here we are, surprised as we might be, through all the funny games we played and never knew we won.
Here we are,
Anticipating, but nothing lasts forever.
so baby, take a chance. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Today we may have love, but nothing is forever. Won't you stay?
Don't be afraid.
Take a chance on love.
I set you free.
Just you and me,
In love
together from the very start. In love,
So in love.
so in love.
Here we are.
Oh yeah,
Baby. Here we are.
Wow. Sounds like it could have been done yesterday, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, the reason I started laughing at the beginning, I may have told you this already. When I first got this copy and I heard it, I said, holy shit. I said, this is pretty good. You know, both of us are really on it. I didn't remember doing that much meticulous rehearsing on the vocal parts and all that. But when my wife heard it, who has been listening to me for longer than, since 79 when she met me, so she's heard me go through different variations of vocalizing.
Yeah.
Up and forwards and all different. And she heard it, and I said, God, that sounds great. She says, yeah. He says, you sound so hopeful. I said, what the hell is that supposed to mean? What is that? I don't sound hopeful now. You sound so hopeful, like But it does sound really fresh and spunky. I will say that.
Yeah. That was that's
was
really
cool.
good. I really liked it. By the way, our mutual dear friend Lauren Pickford is on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How does he know about this stuff?
Well, he and I have talked several times over the last few months. I keep wanting him to come on. He keeps saying he has nothing to say, but we know that's not true.
Lauren, I said the same thing. Lauren, I love you, Lauren, if you're listening to this, and I miss you. We did some great music together, Lauren and I, and Lee Spath and Dennis Kilman and some other people. We did great jazz stuff and great R&B stuff as well. But I can't believe some of the stuff I did with him. I didn't even think it was me playing. I don't remember thinking that complex.
Wow.
Some of the lines I had to play in unison with him and all that.
Huh.
I mean, Lauren was really, when he was here, he was a great influence to me and all of us.
Yeah, me too. I've said this before. He was like my jazz daddy.
Yeah.
Because when I was first here, and I was quite young, 22 or something, and of course, I was adventuring out into the into the world, things I would never do today. But hang out with people till all hours of the morning, go into the bad areas of town for an all night, music hang, stuff like that. And then, so at 4 a.m, I would knock on Lauren's door, and he had his kid, And
I forgot his name, but
Luke.
Luke, yeah.
And he'd say, "Oh, Cathy," how he talks. "Oh, Cathy, come on in." And then he'd lie me down on the couch and cover me up, and I'd, he just took care of me. He was definitely a spiritual kind of leader for me, a guide, and
Absolutely.
definitely taught me a lot. Yeah.
And one of the great eaters. Guy.
He cooked well, didn't he?
Yes, he cooked.
Yes.
And I love to cook. As a matter of fact, I just got a new stove. I don't want to brag, but that's another thing. But he used to love to eat. We all used, and I remember we were doing a gig once in Orange County somewhere with this R&B singer from Trinidad, and it was hilarious. I don't want to get into all the details, but I remember he was playing B3 organ. And we had a limited time to eat, and so we had a break, and he fixed himself a gigantic plate, and we got on the bandstand and we're playing, and he was going to eat no matter what, So in between songs, he was packing in a couple of spoonfuls and start playing again, really cool, and no, he was wonderful because he played good keyboard too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a beautiful.
I saw him here a few years ago. He was at the It's, I don't know if it's part of the museum across from the Broad. Downstairs, it might, I don't think it belongs to the school either, that school that's there. You know what I'm talking about downtown, across from the Broad and across from Disney Hall? The Colbert School of Music.
Yeah.
That there, and then there's the Museum of Modern Art. Right in between there was incredible spaces, for playing. And he was there with Wadado. Wadado, is it Smith? Wadado.
I remember that first name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really an amazing horn player. And anyway, it was great. It was, they were real out and beautiful. And yeah, so I got to see him after a long, long time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay. So
Lozenges.
Lauren, you can thank me for that free PR. Yeah, we just gave you a good plug.
Yeah, Roland, I know our voices are pretty good together, Armando and I. No, Christine, it's not the Red Cat. The Red Cat is kind of behind the Disney. This is across the street, kind of catty corner from Disney Hall, and it's in between the school there, I want to say it's the Colbert School, and then the Modern Art Museum. Not Cal Art. Well, Red Cat is Cal Arts. And yes, Joyce, Wadada Leo Smith. Thank you. What would I do without you guys? Because I so have COVID brain.
Are you reading this stuff, or is it coming through your vocals?
No, I'm reading their comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, let me cough off mic. Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
As most of you know, I have a chronic cough, and
I'm with you, baby. I have my cough drops right here. I'm a fellow cougher.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Start a coughing club.
Yeah, I just started a diet that I had this book for several years, and I just never applied the diet because it takes some thought and time, which now I have to cook. But it's called the mucusless diet, and by Dr. Dr. Arrett, and it's basically fruits and vegetables,
kind of
veganish.
Yeah,
but of course, staying away from anything that creates mucus, and because he thinks all disease is mucus in the body, which creates toxins and poisons and holds it. So I've been eating like that for, I don't know, 5 days or something, and I don't expect a miracle overnight. I have noticed possibly that I'm coughing less. Not right now, though.
That's right.
I mean, who knows? I didn't eat anything, right?
Yeah.
I did not eat a thing. I just had water and,
that's the part that's perplexing. I don't want to get into a cough conversation, but I mean, I've done a lot of research for years too, and it's not necessarily because of anything. What you're talking about is absolutely true. The mucusless, mucusless diet is probably a good start for anything. But there's other things I do that would cause cough, and I found it's not that always. It can happen at any time. There's no reason, even if I didn't eat anything or if I didn't accidentally smoke something or whatever.
Accidentally.
But it's not even that. I mean, sometimes it just happens.
Out of the blue.
Out of the cure. I mean, and it's weird. And it's intense, I
will say one more thing. I did find a doctor on the East Coast who has a whole practice dedicated to coughing, because apparently coughing is one of the biggest problems that people have. And what he does, and I haven't looked into it deeply because I'm so not a drug person, but he gives a tiny amount of a drug that is given for depression, and he gives it to you, and you kind of up it as the effect is created of no coughing. But my body's been really drugless for so long.
I hate prescription drugs. I hate them. I mean, I just went to a pulmonary guy, and sure enough, he piled on. Still haven't taken them. I have 3 of them. I have taken them. As soon as I start reading the side effects, I get freaked out.
Yeah, yeah.
And so have you been doing that particular regimen that you're talking about with this little pill or whatever?
No, I did. I never went there because I was like. Gosh, I don't know if I want to add drugs into my system like that, especially long-term drugs that,
right.
that are, probably I'd be hooked on. My body would get hooked on. I would guess,
Because I have read a couple of things that say that a particular syndrome of coughing can be connected to some part of the brain. That'd be something psychological and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And
yeah.
they were talking about some remedies for that too, but I didn't elaborate on that. But I have heard that concept before, that might have, I don't know. I mean, I'm not that depressed or anything, but, if it makes me happier, I don't know, who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I'm really leery, If it doesn't grow from the ground, I don't want to have anything to do with it,
Yeah. By the way, Dan Davila says it's Zipper Hall Colburn School. Thank you, Dan. See, people tell me everything.
You have a wealth of information over there.
Yeah, I know. Zipper Hall, actually, I won't go into the whole story now, but Zipper, I think his name was Henry Zipper. He has quite an interesting story. If any of you are so inclined to go look it up, Stephen Nachmanovich, the guy who wrote Free Play, he told me, and he actually wrote about it, I think, in his second book. And Zipper he had a long history of being a prisoner of war. He was Jewish, and in one of the camps, I'll just tell you this part of the story, in one of the camps, they made instruments out of whatever, sticks, a feather, whatever, piece of dirt, and they learned an orchestral piece, and they would secretly play this piece.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my God. So anyway, he has quite a story if anybody's so inclined to look at that. So back to Armando. Actually, I'd like to hear... Yes.
I said, who? I got into all this other stuff. I forgot we were doing this, right? Back to Armando. Go ahead. I'm all
back
for
to
that.
Armando, and I was going to say that it would be nice. I mean, we have a bunch of stuff from you. T-Bone Burnett, Matt Harris, Just for a Thrill, which I love on your Bandcamp site, and your Spanish song, which I'd love to hear. I'd like to hear whatever. I'm not sure which one. It says Political with Lou, Mistaken Identity.
That's on Texas Brown. Yeah, that's well, I have a political funk song. The one Mistaken Identity with Lou Matthews is one that I wrote about a young man by the name of Laish Green in 1996, who was on his way to his 14-year-old birthday party at a bowling alley on the west side of town in the hood, and he was shot. No reason, and he was killed. And for some reason, it moved me. I have the articles and all. It moved me so much that I wrote this poem. And remember, our mutual friend Michael Willers said, you should send that into the LA Times. I said, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I did. And they printed it. And then as a result, I wrote a song about it and recorded it. And that's where I got Lou Matthews to play on it and all that. And it's a pretty cool little song.
Should we listen to it? Or
Sure.
Is it on YouTube?
It is on my Texas Brown album.
Is that
Soul Zone, Texas Brown Soul Zone? It would be on Bandcamp if you can get to that. But
oh yeah, I can. Okay, let me get Bandcamp. Let's see. I spelled Bandcamp. Bandcamp. Okay. Bandcamp, and then Armando Compean, and then now this one I should have had up. Okay, so here Armando Compean, and then it's not on Just for a Thrill. It's on Texas Brown, right?
Those two are on there, so you got to click the Texas Brown one, then those titles will pop up. Yeah.
Okay.
Since you have it up, you can just use it.
Yeah. Mistaken Identity. Yeah. I'm gonna share my screen just for fun, because then we can. I don't know. Then we can look at the Bandcamp one.
Yeah.
Mistaken Identity. Here we go.
He's gone because of mistaken identity. You have taken him to another place. Now there's no chance for serenity. There will be no joy to embrace. In your attempt to be a man, you managed to kill a boy, a victim of mistaken identity. Don't you know by now, the gun is not a toy. Someone looked at you in the wrong way, so you decided to end his day. Because you could not settle it face to face. All that is left to do is pray. Stop harming each other, little brothers. Your mistakes are taking the babies and hurting the mothers. What you're doing for excitement is bringing so much pain to others. He's left us a case of mistaken identity. You have forced him to another place. And his friends will feel no serenity. His mother, his father will have no son to embrace. His mother, his father will have no one to embrace. Do you hear me now? His mother, his father will have no son to embrace. His mother, his father, his mother, his father, his mother, his father will have no one to embrace. Stop harming each other, little brothers. His mother, his father will have no one to embrace. His mother, his father. His mother,
Oh, wow. It's a great song. Yeah. Where is the Spanish song?
The Spanish song is on Just for a Thrill, and it's just we haven't talked about my love for boleros. I mentioned it, but I always wanted to do one. And I chickened out because I'm afraid I would sound like a pocho, which is a Mexican that doesn't speak Spanish well. But I finally did it. I guess it always reminds me of my sisters and all that. But I wanted to do it like a jazz tune because there's so many of these tunes. I'm surprised people have not tapped into this.
Yeah.
Because there's so many great tunes of great changes and harmonies. And I don't know if you ever listened to these. We've talked a little bit about it, like some of these trios, like Trio Los Haces de Los Panchos. Those groups sing blocked harmonies. I don't know where all this started. This was back in the 50s. I don't know who started that. It's so sophisticated to be considered Mexican tropical music, to be, because of their cool changes, and so I did it like a jazz ballad. It's Rich Eames is on it. I think Rich is playing piano. Maybe it might have been Matt Harris. I apologize, guys. And Lee Spath. Mm-hmm. And myself on upright and singing, So,
this is No Me Platique.
No me platiques, yeah.
Platiques, yeah.
Which means don't tell me about your past.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What kind of? He's saying, I don't want to hear about it. I want to know what we're enjoying now. I know you've done a lot of stuff in the past.
That sounds like my husband.
Yeah.
You're telling me.
That's right. I know you've done a lot of naughty stuff, but I want to know about. I don't want to hear about it.
That was one reason why I loved my husband, because he said, I understand all that you've done. And he said, that just makes me prouder that I have you.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
See, you gotta love someone like that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Nancy Sanchez is on here, and she wanted to hear this, and she's a wonderful artist too. Nancy, we should have you on and talk. She's a really great artist. She used to be a student of mine years ago, and she's a lovely person and a really good artist, really good. So anyway, I'll tell you about her.
Okay.
Here we go.
Platiques ya lo que debió pasar antes de conocernos. Sé que has tenido horas felices aun sin estar conmigo. Quiero yo saber qué pudo suceder en todos esos años que tú has vivido con otras gentes, lejos de mi cariño. Te quiero tanto que me encelo hasta de lo que pudo ser, y me figuro que por eso es que yo vivo tan intranquilo. No me platiques ya, déjame imaginar que no existe el pasado y que nacimos el mismo instante en que nos conocimos. que me encelo hasta de lo que pudo ser. Y me figuro que por eso es que yo vivo tan intranquilo. No me platiques ya, déjame imaginar que no existe el pasado y que nacimos el mismo instante en que nos conocimos, en que nos conocimos.
Wow. And Roland actually posted he posted a whole translation of it.
It's beautiful lyrics. I mean, they are heart wrenching. All those songs are heart wrenching. In the that's actually was Matt Harris on piano, and then my string arrangements translated by Rich Eames, and he enhanced them as well. But, great solo. Great, I loved it. Yeah.
These are gorgeous lyrics. I mean, they're posted so everybody can see them. So I'm not going to say them, but it's just wow. It's very passionate. As of course, the Spanish language is so much more passionate than English. I think. I remember when I learned Sabor a Mi, and just Sabor a Mi, the taste of you is like, oh, I mean, we would never. I don't think I've ever heard anything in English like that. The taste of you. I'll carry the taste of you in my mouth. It's like, yeah. Nobody's going to really say that.
Well, I mean, when you listen to these guys singing, these groups I just told you, like Los Tres Haces and Los Panchos, you hear them singing, and like these guys are exploding with so much passion. You know? There's usually 3 guitars, bass, and percussion, but the singing, the lead vocalists are always usually tenors, like real soulful. And it's like, this guy, he's going to cry. He's going to start crying any second now. His lyrics, every song, no me platiques ya. So anyway, so that was my cooler, laid-back version of it, and it's...
Who wrote that? Somebody wanted to know?
I do not know. I mean, I have it written on the album, but I don't have it in front of me,
Yeah.
But I have all the, I had to get copyrights for all, licensing for all of them to do them. So
yeah, of course. But
it
kind of reminds me of seeing Oscar Hernandez's large group. Have you ever seen them?
No.
The Harlem Jazz Orchestra, I think it's called. And so he has a whole orchestra and singers, three singers. Oh my God, it's just
is it more chilling. like salsa, you mean, type, or
salsa but orchestrated, Yeah. It's great. Yeah, he's a brilliant player, brilliant musician. His playing, I heard him the other day on 0 BPM, and I was like, oh, is that Oscar? Yeah, it is Oscar. He's very definitive in his playing. Really a great player. I think he may be overlooked in jazz circles because he's so, he's such a Latin presence.
You get the Latin license, right? I mean, identity. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone, not that I go through, when I first moved here, everybody thought, why am I not doing Latin gigs? And I wasn't doing that. I did some Latin gigs and all that. I mean, it was in me and all that, but I wasn't specifically looking to do that. I wanted to play jazz and blues like I always have. And I've been fortunate living here to saturate myself. I went through the Brazilian era. That was a great time to play with all these people. You mentioned Octavio and people like that where we're crossing paths all the time. It was a great era to go through all that. That's one thing about living here as long as I have, is I've gone through all these different stages of having to saturate myself with this kind of music. Everything from, Bill Evans and Keith Jarrett to Tower of Power and Herbie Hancock, Chameleon and all. And so I've tried to do them both with conviction because you get marked. Oh yeah, he sings good, but he doesn't play that great, or he plays great, but he doesn't sing that great.
Yeah.
Or he's a good rocker, but he's not a good jazzer. That, as you know, the labels are big,
Yeah.
in this town. So all that I could think of was just to try them, whatever I'm going to do it like really, 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 really good. If I could,
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, well, that brings me to stuff like You're My Thrill, and I think we can watch that, right, as a video.
You mean Just for a Thrill?
Oh,
No,
Just for a Thrill. Is that it?
I don't have a video for that. I don't have a video for that. No.
You have videos though on that kind of stuff, right?
If they were live, maybe I don't know, but I don't.
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, Who Will the Next Fool Be? That's one of your big songs.
That's just a photo. It's a good recording, but it's just a picture of me. Yeah.
Is there?
There is a live version of it, but it's not as good as the recording. I don't think.
Okay. Well, let's do.
What are you looking for?
Who Will the Next Fool Be? Because I love the way you sing that.
Let's find the right version of it. You have to go.
Well,
to YouTube
this
for
one. Let's see. I'll show you what I have.
I know I'm wearing a maroon shirt.
Yeah,
there it is,
that's
right.
the one.
I think it's that photo right there.
Yeah.
That might be the good recording of it.
I think this is one of your highlight styles.
You're echoing.
I said, I think this is at least one of your highlight styles.
Get rid of me, baby.
That's me.
Tell me who will the next fool be? I know, there are things about you that I'd like to know. After all that's said and done, you won't be satisfied with anyone. So after you get rid of me, baby, who will the next fool be? Will he believe all those lies? End up like me with tears in his eyes. I know, and I'd like to be the one who tells them so. So after all that's said and done, you won't be satisfied with anyone. So after you get rid of me, baby, who will the next fool be? Blues.
Where's the guitar?
Cal David.
his eyes. I know, I know, I know. I'd like to be the one to tell the show. So after all that's said and done, you won't be satisfied with anyone. So after you get rid of me, baby, who will the next one be? You know I really want to know right now. After you get rid of me, baby, who will the next one be? Ooh, yeah,
Just a minute. I'm doing an interview right now. Oh, okay. My neighbor's returning a bowl I loaned him for some stew that I made him.
Speaking of that, Lauren said that he will never forget your zucchini tacos.
Why, that was my vegetarian era, yeah. Yeah, my zucchini tacos. Even I forgot about them.
And Roland has a tradition on this series of asking people if they played with Zappa or what they think of Zappa. So he wants to know what you think of Zappa.
I didn't play with Zappa. I could never read that many notes in 100 years, but I loved Frank Zappa. Yeah. As a matter of fact, speaking of that, the closest thing to Zappa was that Lowell George was very good friends with Zappa, and the bass player that played with Zappa's first band, and he liked me because I reminded him of Zappa's first bass player, so we became friends. Yeah, that's as close as I got to Zappa, you know.
That's funny. We've had a few people on who have, let's see, was it this week? Billy Halting, the percussionist. He played with
Dweezil.
Dweezil, yeah.
Dweezil, yeah.
And they did this whole show dedicated to Zappa and the music of, and they had some highlight players come in, you know.
Yeah.
And they rehearsed like, I think he said 6 weeks, or, you know, intense rehearsals, and you know, and he was playing. He wasn't just playing percussion. I think he was like playing synthesizer stuff. And yeah, anyway, yeah, that was interesting because especially since Roland has an obsession with Zappa.
I did do a small stretch with one of his unknown relatives, Zipper. Zipper Zappa. No, just kidding, right? Nobody knew about Zipper that much. He was kind of unknown. A lot of my history is unknown, right? But anyway.
Yeah. Roland says you must love Lou Rawls. Yeah, who didn't?
Yeah. No, Lou was one of the roots, one of my handful of roots, definitely. When I was in Texas, we were listening to him a lot, you know.
Yeah.
His live album, Tobacco Road, and all that stuff, that's all. Did you know that, what was this song, Sam Cooke, do your mind about leaving me. You know that one? Yeah. That's Lou Rawls singing background vocals with him. You can really recognize his voice once you know it's him. You can really hear that it's Lou. You know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The answer, you know, that's Lou singing with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was just telling somebody online here the other day that when I was in Pittsburgh, when I was like, I think I was not 21 yet. I was in this 3-girl act within a show of comedy, comedians, dancers, you know. Anyway, Maynard Ferguson's band came in there. And I used to, every morning I would walk over to this little coffee place and get a donut and push the button on the machine and listen to Natural Man. That song just used to drive me berserk. Talk about sensual, right?
Yeah.
He was, I guess that was it? I guess that must have been before, after, I don't know. Anyway, that was a pretty strong period for him, right?
Right. I knew a lot of people that played with him during that time too. A lot of different rhythm sections. Yeah, he was very active, you know, happening. And also a big influence, just like, Ray Charles, Lou Rawls, Stevie Wonder, Frank Sinatra. Those all big, gigantic influences, for a lot of us, for guys especially,
What were you doing in your early 20s? Where were you?
That is a very, very good question.
You don't remember?
No. Very good question. They say if you remember the '60s, you weren't there. No. Well, my early 20s, I moved here when I was 22. So the first part of it, I was still in Texas.
Yeah.
And when I was in Texas, before I left Houston, I was having a ball. It was too much work. I'd been playing bass for 2 or 3 years. I played a top 40 band with with Edgar Winter. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I remember him, sure.
And then I had an after hours gig with his brother Johnny. We used to hang out after hours and play and go and eat food and do stupid things afterwards, And so it was a great time, And then I had my first jazz gigs before I left there, where I don't know if you remember these guys, Ornette Cobb and Jimmy Ford.
Yeah,
they were real jazz. Ornette Cobb was one of the 5 Texas tenors, Illinois Jock Hat, and all. There was and Jimmy Ford, speaking of Maynard Ferguson, was one of his lead guys back then. Unfortunately, he had addiction problems, so he had to leave that band and move back to Houston. And he cooled it, but he was still pretty wacky. He liked to imbibe quite a bit, but great. They call him the White Bird. He was like the epitome of. And I remember there was this big band gig every Sunday at the Union Hall, and it's a big hang, and he would always do "Who Can I Turn To?" That was one of his big hits, which was being played. You never hear that tune anymore either. It's like,
right. That was a great song.
But he used to just he used to play that, and his wife was named Nancy, so he used to play that. What's the song? Nancy
with the laughing eyes,
whatever. Yeah. And so so that was a great era. And then I moved here, 1968, with my brother-in-law and my sister and a drummer, and we were doing kind of a Sergio Mendes type of copy group. We were doing gigs like that in Houston, and we moved here and started writing our own stuff. My brother-in-law was a phenomenal arranger, and he would do all these complex blocked harmonies, and we would do cover tunes of blocked harmonies, and then we started writing all these. We used to speak about rehearsal. We used to rehearse 4 or 5 days a week. It was insane, but a great learning period, for me, singing the middle of a chord while playing a moving bass part in a different place, and, those real ear training times, And so we were together for a couple of years. It didn't last because they had 5 kids, and they moved to friggin' Walnut or Diamond Bar, and I was going to live out there. I didn't move to LA to live in Diamond Bar,
Yeah.
And so by the time they got to a gig, they were exhausted all the time, from driving and raising 5 kids. And I remember we got our first really big steady gig at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, and we were being we were engaging in dialogue with Capitol Records, and it all looked really great. But anyway, the gig was such a pressure, it just dismantled. I mean, it was just so much strain on them and all that. I mean, I think it's the only gig I walked off of. It got so stupid. There was stuff going on with my brother-in-law and the drummer. I said, I am out of here. And then they moved back. He did really well when he moved back to Texas and all that. But that was how I moved here. That was that first 2 or 3 years here, and then I got the gig with JP when I was 24. So I went on the road, and I was just burning it in my 20s, as you were, my dear. And I mean, everything musically and every other kind of way as well, And I'm fortunate to have gotten through it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you mean.
Yeah.
So true. Listen, it's some angels watching over, right?
Oh, I'm telling you, but so much music, and there was a lot of recording.
Hey, speaking of those days, I'm assuming that new video that you put up, I think you put it up on your
timeline, Facebook
timeline, yeah. And I went to see it and listen. Wow, So solid, so funky. And I bet most of those guys you've been playing with for a long time. Is that right?
Well, not as long as the people we're talking about, but I've been playing with a drummer for a few years at a blues jam. The guy who edited and did all the labor of that, Eric Garcia, he's got a very, very successful mastering studio nearby me. He did all the editing. He was playing rhythm. The piano player, Mo Beeks, I've known about 2 or 3 years. And the other guitar player, Ken Berry. And it's all been at these jams that we do, these blues jams. They haven't,
Yeah.
And so then I didn't mention during this COVID time, I've had about 4 or 5 concerts in my front yard here,
Yeah, yeah.
and I would have them come and play, and they were the band that I had. It wasn't my own band. Lee Spath hasn't played since March, So I haven't played with my own guys for years. These are the other guys I've been playing with. And so I wrote this little funky vamp, and I wanted to get Eric involved. And I said, write a melody for it, and he did. And then everybody did their parts separately. I'm sure you've heard the drill. You have to have the interface audio box to do all this. And I'm like so low tech that I have it, but I did my recording at his studio.
Oh.
And he filmed me and all that. So he has to get all the parts together. Everybody did it. Everybody has studios,
Yeah.
They did their part, like Scott Bredman, him, and
Yeah.
send their parts in, and then Eric puts it all together and makes it sound cohesive. Otherwise it would never work. It's kind of the way we've been only way we can play and jam together as far as playing that kind of music. And it came out pretty good.
I love it. We should play a little bit of it before we go because it's really cool and it's present. And that was the other thing I was going to mention was for years you did a weekly jam at your house, right, with your friends?
I still do. Oh, I don't now. Now I have transferred it. I've been playing since this COVID time. I've managed to be able to coerce. I play every Friday, with the exception of when it doesn't happen, with Paul Krybick and Jeff Miley, a great guitar player.
Oh, God,
do
yeah.
you know Jeff? I love him.
Totally.
I love him.
In love with his playing.
Yeah, man, he is so cool. And and Saturdays I play at Rich Eames' house with Krybick, and when Jeff can't make it, Kay Kindle has done it, and Dick Weller did it last week actually. So nice. I've managed to all of this stuff, even though I'm not gigging.
Yeah.
To keep some near facsimile of chops and mental sanity, because if I hadn't been playing all this time, you might have been seeing me in the paper or something, doing something bad. I mean,
jazz bass player kills
right,
5.
running around cursing naked in the street, or something, right? But so it's been really good, to play and hear yourself. And at first, I said, "What am I going to do?" I've never not played all the time, since I was 13 or 14 years old. I've never not. That's been, even when I'm not working, I would jam here a couple of times a week at least,
Yeah.
And God, these people have so much food being delivered next door. Incredible. They must have quite a credit card bill. So that's something that I can honestly say I've been consistent at keeping going is music playing all the time. Even during, like I said, even my little concerts here were cool, the little blues concerts that I had, But I've managed to keep playing jazz and playing my upright almost through this whole time, just minus a couple of months, And I really sincerely, even though I'm joking about it, think it has saved me from going completely fucking nuts.
Oh, I totally agree.
I don't know how you've done it because I know you like to.
Part of it is this show.
Well,
this has really kept me sane, and it's been in my consciousness since I started it in March. And then the other part of it is I've been going into the studio occasionally for various reasons.
That's right, yeah.
I did a few singles. Actually, and PR call. My new single is coming out tomorrow.
That's right. That's right.
And I have a guest singer on it who, I don't know if you've heard him, but you would really like him. He's real honest and creative and soulful. And he's a drummer, a great drummer, Paul Jost. He's from the East Coast. Yeah. You'd really like him. And he, it's an interesting single. You'll be intrigued. Like, why did they do that? And he did something like when I sent my part to him for his take, he sent it back with this particular thing that he did, which everybody will hear tomorrow. And I was blown away, and I thought it was amazing, and it just made the whole thing so intimate. So anyway, I'm excited for people to hear, because it's a really nice project. But I've been in the studio, and I've also been still producing people in the studio, and then I've done very few gigs. I went to a few gigs.
You were doing some gig. You were doing an outside jam there for a few weeks, right?
Yeah, that was in the very beginning before they shut down. That was really fun. I mean, that was definitely, it was like, oh yeah, I remember how to sing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. That's how I felt. I started playing again. You know, I was just hoping that, okay, this goes here, this goes here.
Yeah, it feels really good. I actually was in the studio last week with Otmar Ruiz and Ahmet Turkmenoglu and Jimmy Branley, and wow, that felt really good. Woo.
I'll bet.
Whoa.
I'll bet.
What friggin' quality musicians are they, guys? I just like, wow.
One of the other great things beside the traffic, about living here in LA, you know,
yeah,
that we can do that we can just
play with anybody,
make a call and play with these level of people, you know.
Yeah.
No, it just it makes you better. I really do believe that, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, Roland says, can you give us the first letter of the title to tomorrow's reveal? A.
Yeah.
Go ahead, work with that, Roland.
I'm always curious now. We don't have to elaborate on this, but when somebody says I'm releasing something, you know, like, how do you release anything these days? What does that mean?
You know, for
you're letting it out of a cage, or what?
Yeah, you know, for me, that's a good question, I think. And really, for me, you know, people like you and me, I'll include you too, and most of us that we know, we're not, you know, we're not a member of a big label, you know. I even got turned down by a distributing company today. I thought, oh, a distributing company, cool. You just go zip by the label, you know.
Yeah.
And they're like, sorry, we already have all the people we're going to do in 21. So, so what that means is, it's really, I don't know how to talk about this, but it's what I think of it as a personal growth and a personal thing, a personal creation that I'm putting out for people who know about me, or for people who are connected somehow, or somehow they're going to find it. It's not like on this big PR machine, you know, I'm not paying $3,000 to somebody to, you know,
to
put it
push
out.
It. That's usually how you have to do it, you know, lately.
Well, yeah, but I'm just not it. And actually this year I decided to try the single release, you know, and some people say even that's not good if you're thinking that the CD that these singles are from might get label notice. So people say do not put it out in public. But I wanted to, these songs that I've been putting out this year are very vulnerable, or right to the heart of the message, you know.
I know you did that Marvin Gaye one.
Make Me Want to Holler.
Yeah,
I mean, it was, you
cool,
know, that was
cool.
what I was really feeling during that time, too.
Exactly,
and then Sermonette, which is a song full of hope and love, and then Get Together, you know, come on, people now, smile on your brother. Yeah. And then this one, and then this new one that I had just recorded this year is a few songs like that, too, that I actually had in my book for a long, long time. So, but most of them I'm taking from a project that's on the shelf where all the musicians are done, and I'm just finishing up the vocals. But anyway, so it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a website, you know. Okay, so you spend money, you make a beautiful website, and then what? If you don't promote it somehow, nobody knows you have a website.
You just
Who
have
knows?
a cool website, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like what I'm doing are steps like that. I'm doing what I can with small amounts of money, and you know, doing PR and doing something called Play MPE, which is a company that has a huge list of listeners, online listeners in various forms and in various genres, and and that's relatively cheap to do. And so,
Excuse me a second.
sure,
Hello?
sell. Sell. Anyway, so did I answer that? I think I did.
Yeah. Well, as clearly as everybody else I've asked.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I just did an album with a friend of mine, and that he produced a great singer. One of the only paying gigs I've had all year, and it was a great album, great music. He's a great producer, blah blah blah. And I asked him the same thing, and he went through another variation of what you just talked about.
Yeah.
He knows somebody that might that's
Yeah.
going to do this and do that, but I'm still not really getting. It's not like when you say I'm going to release an album and you got a budget, you did an album, and somebody's going to promote it for you and all that. I mean, listen, that Texas Brown album that I did almost 2 decades ago, whenever it was.
Yeah.
I started in the 90s. Mike Klinko co-produced with me. You remember Mike Klinko?
Yeah, I
guitar
do.
player?
I do. Yeah.
And, we just piecemealed it, and it took a long time because I ran out of money. I had to come back. I didn't finish it till the end of the decade, I think. And then, I listened to it, and I was just telling you again about lyrics. I was telling you I'm having a hard time thinking about what to write about. And all those songs you're talking about is great stuff. If we could think of those things right now. And so I listened to this thing and I say, man, you've covered a lot of ground here. Like there's a tune on there I wrote about evangelicals, which really bugged me, the way they take advantage of people's most vulnerable part, which is spirituality. It's a funk tune, but it's meaningful. It's funny. We might want to play it, whatever. But the point is, I listen to it about once a year, this album, or twice a year, and I'll say, dude, this thing, you can still do it right now. I'm thinking about why not a re-release. When I released it, nothing happened. Nothing happened when I released it. I mean, I sold a fair amount, not enough, Like a friend of mine said, I got 933 left. You get 1,000 in the box. Well, no, I've sold more than that. But I have a storage place with 4 or 5, a lot of CDs.
Oh, me too.
And,
me too.
I know you do. But I mean, some people don't even own CD players anymore. I tried to give them away once. So I don't own a CD player.
I
Jesus
know.
Christ.
I know.
Everything's in a button.
Yeah.
And but I think about that. I'm thinking like, well, I might start posting a tune here and there, one at a time like you and all that. But I'm thinking, why not try to release one tune? Or it's the album, nobody is going to miss. Nobody missed it when it happened. It's been so long, and it's still substantial. It doesn't sound dated. It doesn't sound. Everything about it, it still, to me, sounds strong. The lyrics are good, and the recordings are solid. It's a good album. So
yeah, if I were you, I would Google re-releasing a record, and also I have heard a lot of people re-release stuff. I've heard people kind of make a new cover and release it, again. But I think re-releasing is fine and great. Why not? There's no big rule book. You know what I mean? You cannot re-release a record.
Yeah, right.
There's no rule book.
Especially since the original release wasn't that big a deal. I might make a bigger deal of it now, So who knows?
Yeah.
Sorry. You're back.
I turned my mic off so I wouldn't cough into the mic.
What kind of mic is that?
This is a blue Yeti, and they have it's not the cheapest version, but it's not a super expensive version either. But it
sounds
nice.
Good. And it looks good.
Yeah. What's more important?
Right. What's more important? It looks fabulous.
Yeah. I would love to play a little bit of this. First of all, this current one, because I just think it's yummy. I might even just start in the middle. So kind of.
Yeah, well, you missed the feel is the whole thing. It's the Lincoln Boulevard strut. Yeah.
Do you think it's okay if I start in the middle, or?
I think you'll miss a little bit of it. You can start in the beginning and stop it whenever you want, after a solo or two, whatever, if you want to do that. But I think if you start in the middle, you're going to miss the setup of the groove, and you know how much I'm in. Yes, how much I'm committed to the groove.
It's on YouTube, right?
I probably, yeah. Eric put it up there, yeah.
Yeah. And it's called the
Lincoln Boulevard Strut.
Okay, let me just.
Lincoln Boulevard Strut.
All right. Well, hey, I didn't mean to do that.
No, that's a different gig.
Lincoln. I don't know why it's starting, but anyway. Lincoln. I'll find this. Meanwhile, we'll just listen to Boulevard Strut. Let's see if that comes up. Lincoln Boulevard Strut. Maybe I should say
maybe
Eric
it's
Garcia.
not on my Eric Garcia. Maybe, or you can go to my Facebook timeline, whenever it's there.
Okay. Oh, here it is. All right, this is Current. Love it.
I'm laughing about my face.
I know, man. You're not smiling. But now, whoop, there's a smile.
My lack of face, I should say. I was actually having a good time.
I'm positive you were. How room plays. He's a great player. Yay!
God.
Just love that.
That sax player, I love him too. Do you know Scott Gilman?
I think we
He's a
got
great
it.
No, I don't know Scott.
Yeah,
Is
I know
is he the
sax player.
man? He plays great.
Great
Boy, that
jazz player.
was-
Great jazz player too. I've been playing with him also on Friday. Lately, I've been getting him to come play.
Yeah,
And,
he's
He can
wonderful
play,
player.
He can play anything. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, you can hear that actually. You can hear that he's really good. And Lynn, just watching Lynn is great.
Oh,
I
don't
just-
you? Lynn is just a happy.
he just
positive.
loves the drums, man.
Oh man,
He just,
he loves. He must have talked to me about this, because I had a loop that he loved that I had with the original demo, and Eric took it out thinking that it was just a timekeeping thing, but I wanted Lynn to kind of cop it a little bit,
yeah, yeah.
and he was just, I love that drum line. So passionate, and he just that's the way he plays all the time. And and that sax player is the same way. Whenever I've never played with him, whether it's jazz or R&B, where it's not full blown commitment.
Tell me his name again, because Tim Weston is asking again.
Scott Gilman. He's got a great studio as well. Actually, very good. They all have great studios except me.
Yeah, that's good.
Say hi to Tim for me. Hi, Tim.
Tim. He's there, so he
Yeah.
heard you say it.
Okay.
Yeah, man, just really nice player. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Roland says your face shows how you've internalized the groove.
Bad. I look like I took drank a bottle of cough syrup or something. It's
But
like-
you are internalizing the groove, and you're just kind of there.
I know, but many times, and I'm not the only musician that does this, but I'm really, sometimes I really think that I'm looking really animated and cool and all that. And then I see a picture of myself and I look like I'm passing out, like, are you pissed off about something?
Oh, well.
Anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And so, let's see. You also, you had some, and still do, I think. You wrote for TV, or you played.
Well, a couple of different things. I did write. Jim Varley and I wrote some music for a PBS documentary called Over California a few years ago. A couple of them actually, but he and I also got into writing for The Young and the Restless. Not last year, the year before that, a little bit, and we actually placed a few of them. I had to write a lot of them to place.
Were they short songs or long?
They were,
or were they songs?
They were instrumental background stuff you hear in a restaurant or a back club.
Okay.
Smooth jazz, and
Yeah.
I wrote some of them were kind of they were all pretty generic. Like write a samba with a real generic groove. And then anyway, it kept evolving to find at the end they wanted hip hop. And as I do my research for us, and Jesus Christ, some of it was just friggin' Neanderthal. But I did it. We comped it, and it's a great learning thing because we had to write 3 or 4 tunes at a batch and then send them in and all that, and it's good. It's a good experience, But and to make them sound, you don't want them to sound, even though they can't be too complicated, but you don't want them to sound Neanderthal either.
Yeah.
So it was a great thing, So that was that little thing, but we didn't sign up for another year. It was a lot of work for. I mean, I would love to do more of that at a higher level, of course, and
Yeah.
write some stuff. I find that quite natural to do, to come up with stuff,
Yeah.
And,
You've never acted, have you?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I'm acting now. No, no. Did you remember? You remember one of my great hits, a show called Cop Rock. Do you remember that show?
Pop rock. So.
Yeah. Stephen. What's his name? Anyway, it was a show ahead of its time. All the singers were on it. Great singers, all people that you probably know or don't know that were. It was a show. It was a cop show, and in the middle of something happening, somebody would break into a tune, and there were great singers. There was great. All the singers in town were in it. It was a gold mine for singing. I mean, that's how I got to join SAG. For the first check I got from that, and I did about 4 episodes of that. Not a whole lot of acting, and then I've done some acting on the Drew Carey show. I had a couple of acting and singing scenes on that. And never a full blown thing. It's one of my closet talents, that I'm sure we all think we can do it, but I was able to sneak a couple of things there, but never a full blown assigned acting gig. It was always involved with some music in there somewhere,
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I imagined. I don't even know how. I don't remember how you met Inge, but you didn't act with her, right?
No. She came to a gig to monitor a vocal teacher that I was working with, a singer, very good singer, Barbara Busa, I forgot her name. And she came there to check her out. Inge's taking vocal lessons. She's done everything, but I'm telling you. And so she was there, and the peripheral love at first sight, It was a weekend I had decided I was going to finally start to be monogamous with a girl I was seeing for the first time in my life with anybody.
Of course.
And
so the first thing that happens is you fall in love with somebody else.
I walk in, and she's across the room. I saw her, and it was at one of those places like not Charlie Brown's, but Red Onion.
Yeah.
Remember those joints? Yeah.
Sure.
And I saw her, but I didn't even know her, and I said, "What is she doing here?" That was my first thoughts when I saw her, and the rest was history. I sang a tune called "Funny Not Much," which used to be one of my big hits.
Yeah.
And anyway, that got me in the loop.
She swooned, man.
That got me in there, right? Anyway, it started with that, and 41 years later, here we are. And, but she's done some acting, and she's working on a book now, and she's done a lot of stuff. She's really has amazing. When I met her, I didn't even know if she had gone to what was the music school everybody was going to back then?
Dick Grove or something.
Dick Grove, yeah.
Huh.
I remember I found all these books with harmony and all, and she had studied as a kid. When you're in Europe, they make you dance lessons and music lessons, and she was raised to go through all that. And I remember at the apartment we had a piano there, and she was telling me, I was reading through the fake book, and I stumped, and she says, I can read music too, and I said, oh yeah, sure. Right. No, I can't. So I pulled out, like some Don't Blame Me, something easy. She starts playing it real slow. Do, do, do. I said, yeah, okay, well, that's easy. Well, let's try this. And as I kept on finding stuff, in different kids, and she was reading all of it. I said, God damn, what can't this woman do? I don't know if she could do it now, but she's delved into a lot of different artistic venues in her life.
Yeah, and she wrote that book, and it turned into a one-woman show, right?
She did. She's writing a book from the one-woman show. She did the one-woman show, yeah, and she performed it in New York, which was a very successful endeavor. And
what was it called again?
Inge? Yeah. What was your play called? Burn.
Okay.
Burn, yeah. And she did it here for about a month, and it did very, very well here, a little small little theater and all that. And Jimmy and I did the sound design for it, not sound. There was some music, but there's a lot of sound effects, and also a great, interesting endeavor to get into, to find sounds for a train landing somewhere or stopping somewhere, and write little pieces that were in coordination with certain Estonian folk rituals and stuff like that, so we had to do research on that. So it was great. It was a great team effort for her and I, and since then she's done some monologues at this. She was doing a great thing at a venue in Malibu. Excuse me? Storytelling, yeah. And I've directed her actually a couple of times, and took her a little bit to get used to my thing, but then there was benefits from my, being able to teach vocals and what I noticed, and I was able to help her deliver just the sound of a certain phrase and all that. And it was another great endeavor. We did a couple of those together, and it was just a great team effort. It was very, very enjoyable. Yeah.
And that's something we haven't even really touched on in this conversation is your teaching too, because you're a teacher, and are you teaching these days at all? I mean, no. I have like I think I have 3 or 4 steady students, and then an occasional.
No, I'm not teaching. The last student, or I had a guy that was going to this blues jam, and he wanted to work on, sitting in and singing the blues and all that. But that was about it. I between getting picky about it and not having anybody tearing my door down to do it, I haven't had any students. I enjoy it when it happens, but I'm not as patient as you are. You've acquired quite a muscle. For that.
But you're really good. Just for the general public who doesn't know this, I had before. It's really interesting. I don't have I don't have a desire right now to create online workshops. I could, but it's interesting because I had that button was switched on for years, right? And I remember I used to have workshops like 2 a weekend,
I loved it. I loved it.
Crazy. And then Armando was many times the bass player or clinician. Talking about groove. Oh my God, those were great classes, and people still remember the stuff that you taught them.
I still get kudos from that, especially about the samba.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I get you. I got you.
I gotcha.
I gotcha.
Oh, I mean,
I said, well, how do I get into this? How do I count this off? So, and some of those people were, as you know, very. They weren't experienced with, hearing a band playing around them and all that.
Right.
And so,
groove, as you and I have talked about many times, because we actually created workshops on groove specifically, because groove is a very challenging thing for people who have basically no experience or no idea how to internalize that. They listen to something, they might like it, but they don't know how to get it in and out of themselves,
Right, and to actually to trust in their own pulse. I mean, I remember one of the first things I did, because I had to come up with things. Okay, you're gonna teach this. You're gonna have to come up with some hooks, things. So one of the first things I do, and I always do it with people too. And I remember the first class I did had a bunch of people there that were singing. They all wanted to sing and all that. And I said, well, let's just do this because I'm talking about feeling the pulse and feeling the one and all this stuff. I said, let's do this easy exercise. I said, I want you to pick a song that you like to sing. I want you to stand up and walk in time to singing it. I mean, people were tripping left, they were tripping left and right, they're singing every day it rains, not as easy as it sounds to actually trust and, strut along and with your own groove, I mean, to do. So it's always a great exercise, to lay on people. But I found it interesting how many people said they could do it and they couldn't do it, I think Roland might have been at that class, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he could have been actually sitting up on the ledge there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, and that gets you. So basically, how Armando would give an idea of a samba groove and how to count it off was, I get you, I got you, I get you, I got you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's perfect, you know.
Yeah.
And people really did. They could do that. You know, it was
everybody could do that.
Entry
exactly.
level, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, I learned a lot from doing that. I learned a lot from listening to you and being put on the spot to do that. You know what I mean? To be compassionate and to be, you have to be delicate at the same time when you're being, when you're expressing some constructive thoughts about singing and especially that is the most intimate thing. I mean, I don't care if you don't feel that, then you can sing all you want. It's not gonna penetrate. It's not going to get across. You know.
Yeah, I know. In fact, I remember some incidences, but it's and you're great at this, and this is a total compliment to you too, and not, but I remember there was at least one person who was not handling the information well. And all you can do as a teacher is observe really well and then try and be empathetic as far as the student, their perspective on what it is that the subject, and try and kindly get in there and give them something to work with. But then, who knows what kind of crapola people carry around with them, as we know.
Right. We're not responsible for that part of it, right?
No, we're not.
We have our own.
Exactly. So, but yeah, it's really interesting, and on the spot, I can appreciate that too, because, and it's just interesting for me in the workshops to see how the musicians do teach the vocalists, and I think it's really valuable information. And also I always hope that the students realize that the musicians are their allies, and not only in the workshop, but on the bandstand, they're your allies, and hear what they're saying. They're saying, they're giving you this really helpful information, Right.
Yeah. Yeah, those were great. I love the time we had the camp for a week of.
Oh God, that was great. Wasn't
and
it?
it ended up with a showcase at the Smokehouse. That was a great.
That was
a great week.
10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
I
did a lot of them. I know. I did a lot of them.
Yeah. That was a really good one. And actually that anniversary just came up. It was about 5 years ago. And there were a few people who were commenting on that. Aviva was one of them.
I noticed, Aviva, yeah.
And Karen Kuzer, and yeah. So anyway, see, now you thought you wouldn't be able to talk, and it's 2 hours.
Wow. I'm surprised that you haven't passed out.
Well, there were a few times I was.
I considered it, right.
And I didn't even laugh as much as I expected.
Well, I was holding back. I was trying to act like an adult.
You were holding back.
I was trying to talk like an adult. I didn't want to be start doing the Red Skeleton show or anything, right?
I want to say before we go, there was one time, and Armando knows this because I've told him, and actually it was at that gay bar gig in Long Beach. So I was taping, for whatever reason, I was taping the gig, and when I wasn't singing, you could hear me laughing. And it was because of Armando.
Well, that's it. Thank God we could do that, man. I'm telling you.
I also forgot that wasn't it John Abercrombie who wrote a song, Armando's Eyes?
Armando's Eyes, right? Yeah.
And it was about you.
Yeah, he was rehearsing at Peter Donald's house when they had that group together with Richie Byrack and George Mraz. That was some band, by the way. And they're rehearsing there. And there was a poster this guy did of me at the beach. It was blown up and it looked pretty mystical. And I'm looking right at the camera, and he was playing. And concentrating. He looked up, that poster was there, he started looking at it, and it mesmerized him so much that he wrote that tune, Armando's Eyes. Anyway.
It's kind of a claim to fame.
No, really, yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah. And I also remember one more time.
You can go as all you want, baby.
We were on a gig with Rick Vitello.
I dreamed about him last night.
You did?
Yes, and it wasn't great, but go ahead.
Well, he was one of the best leaders for Casual ever, because he could play his ass off. He could talk to the clients really well. He just knew how to keep the music moving and what to call.
Right.
And there was this one gig. Oh, well, actually, here's a Rick Vitello story, and then I'll come back to our gig. But I don't know if you were on this gig, but we were at a Casual in Beverly Hills, a wedding. And the wedding party was absolutely going nuts. The music was great. I think we were doing that song where it comes way down and then it comes way back up. That it was really big for a while. Anyway, one guy...
Ole, ole.
One guy was dancing by with a girl, and he was going like this. It's too loud, The whole rest of the party was freaking out. The father was on the ground on his back, like riffing around. And so what Rick did was he pulled the band totally way down. And he said in the mic, he looked at the guy, he said, "What? What?" He said, "Did you say we're too loud?" And the guy's, "Yes, yeah." He was real proud that he had.
Right. And then the client was like, "No."
That ended that really fast. But anyway, back to our gig. So we were at that part in a bar mitzvah where you bring up all the aunts and uncles and you play all these different songs continually. Right?
Yes,
here's Uncle Harry.
From New York. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So for some reason, the client wanted the fight song for UCLA forever. He didn't want different songs. And so Rick started playing it in different keys, but didn't even wait till one time. He would start playing the different keys somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And you of course were playing, and you started... Oh, I pulled out my headphone. Hold on. I pulled out my headphone. You started laughing so hard that you were like crying. And
tears.
You were sitting down.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you started doing this because you didn't want people
I was trying to hide my face from laughing, right?
Yes, and you ended totally... totally down like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was just one of the funny.
No. I mean, and there's a lot of them like that. I was doing one. I've seen films of it. Judd Miller filmed it. He was a maniac, and we were playing with this poor guy. He used to drive him nuts. Leonard Neal. Yeah, he was a Casual leader.
Yeah.
Another bar mitzvah thing. Same thing. And now from New York, here's Uncle and Aunt. And I'm on the bandstand. And so the first thing that Judd does was they wanted us to play The Godfather, and he cued, I think his sax player was John Cross or somebody like that. No, John Williams, I forgot his name. He was another wacky guy. And he cued him, and they did The Godfather in a major key. It sounded like the theme from Bad Masterson, And so you can see me on the bandstand, and then the father come up, and he wanted to sing for his son. Where do I begin? Where do I begin? He couldn't find it, and you can literally see me on the bandstand behind a music stand, like what you said. And I was wearing glasses back then, and tears were dripping from my eyes. And you can see them on the video. And I'm shoulders pulsating, and it's oh my God, it was just. You just can't trade that. You can't trade that. That's like thousands of dollars of therapy, right there.
I would ask you what was the funniest thing that you can remember, but I'm sure there were so many that.
Well, that's you just said a couple of them right there. I mean, that's something we could talk about forever. I mean, I remember the guitar player that played the solo on "Who Will the Next Fool Be?" Cal David, his wife and I, we used to do like you and I used to do. We used to be kibitzing while we're playing and making each other laugh. And we were playing at a big time function in Bel Air, big house and all that. And we're and so we're playing, and I was noticing that all the women kind of had something in common. They all had the same nose. And I said, "Is it my imagination, or do all these women, are they related, or what is it?" But it turns out that the guy we were playing for was a big time cosmetic surgeon. Cosmetic surgeon, right? And so all these women had the same nose, the same little curve up and all that. So God, oh my God, when she told me that, I was just like, you just can't buy that kind of material.
Oh God, that's funny.
Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me too. And Stan Ayerhoff says hi.
Hi, Stan.
And one more thing. I will get off. I promise.
No, you can do all you want. You can play some more of my music if you want.
Oh, Tim says JP on Merv Griffin doing Merv back at him during the interview.
Yeah.
Were you there? On Merv
again,
Griffin? JP Morgan on Merv Griffin doing Merv back at him during the interview.
Yeah, I probably was. Yeah. I mean, that's another one that those Mel Torme and her on the same show was a hilarious one. But anyway, that's another story. But
just one more thing I remember.
Yeah.
So this was in your electric days on Casuals. We were on a casual at the Ritz up your ass Carlton.
Yeah.
And the manager, not the manager, what's the name?
The maitre d'.
The maitre d' was a real asshole.
Yeah.
And you happened to be unlucky enough to turn suddenly. We weren't on stage. we were on the ground, and you turned suddenly, and somebody with these huge, carrying plates.
I knocked him down.
Oh
my God, that's right.
Oh my God, I remember that too.
Yeah. Well, the most rebellious thing I did on that gig is we weren't allowed to drink on that gig. Is I talked this waiter who he kind of.
Oh yeah.
I remember he liked us a little bit, but he was still scared to death of everybody there. I talked to him on the last night we were there to bring me. He brought me a creamer.
Yeah.
Full of cognac. And he was so afraid of getting caught. He says, "You got to go out to the stairwell to drink it." I said, "No problem." So I went out there and I drank it. I mean, I'm talking about one pop, And I came in and I was the most popular guy in the band. I was like laughing at everything. I didn't care. It was our last night. We had it. And it was just. I remember. I felt so good that we pulled that off. I drank all the gig and I copped a buzz, no matter what you said. I still did it. Anyway.
All right, Armando
Compean.
So this has been really fun. I'm glad you were on, and have a great day. And ladies and gentlemen, Thursdays through Sundays, I'm posting from the archives, and I try and do it around 12, but sometimes I miss. But it's Kiki Edson and John Clayton,
cool,
and Judy Niemak, and Cecily Gardner and Emil Hassan Dyer. And then next week, the first 3 days, Mark and Alan Ferber. You know them, right? The drummer.
I don't know them personally, but I know who they are.
Yeah, great twin brothers, great drummer and trombone player. Mm-hmm. They're bi-coastal. Bob Mayer is a drummer from New York, and Theo Bleckman, a really adventurous, amazing modern jazz singer from New York. So that's it. Thank you. And again, my new single will be coming out tomorrow, March 11th.
Yay!
So, I mean, I'm actually going to put it out at midnight. So if you're awake at midnight, you could even see it.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I fall asleep at a lot earlier hours than that, and I sleep later than usual now during this pandemic. I don't know what the deal is. I'm sleeping a minimum of 9 hours a night now.
It's great, isn't it? Well, sometimes
I don't. Is it? I don't know. I mean, I'm doing it.
I have very mixed sleep. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's terrible. And I have, a few little tricks that I go around trying, about 4 things that I try. You know, one of them is bound to work, but every now and then it doesn't even work. You know, so
Yeah, yeah. I just, yeah. I mean, sometimes I might be awake for a while, but in the middle of the night. But usually, I mean, I can knock them out. I mean, I can sleep.
cool.
I mean, it's incredible. Plus, I wear it blindfold and earphones and all this
Oh,
other
yeah,
stuff. Just suck
me
the
too.
sound out. I mean, I am in another world, honey. You know. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, man.
Give my
Have a
love
great
to,
day.
Give my love to Gary, and
I will.
It's really been a pleasure, and it's great hanging with you. This guys, I miss hanging. So
I
this is a
know.
hang for me. This was a hang with Cathy Segal. You know. So, all right.
Thanks, R.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye,
Love you-
everybody.
love you too.